What's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, guys. We are taking a look today at the San Jose Sharks, and it is just getting more and more juicy on the rumors coming out of San Jose. As earlier this week, we talked about Erik Karlsson and his displeasure for the direction of the San Jose Sharks, according to Doug Wilson from last week. Now we're starting to hear about Timo Meier potentially being in the mix at this year's trade deadline. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and even bigger subscribe down below. Let's take a look at the San Jose Sharks. So guys, according to Elliot Friedman, a big hockey insider, you heard rumblings about Timo Meier being available, but was told don't go down that road, which in my mind screams, okay, so that means we have to talk about this. So Timo Meier, if you guys do not know, Timo Meier is probably one of the best forwards, power forwards in the league. I'm talking about a guy that is not afraid to get in front, get a little bit chippy, reminds me of an Anders Lee, of course, but a little bit more skill. Thank you. I hope everybody's okay. But Timo Meier is a guy that we have to keep an eye on. And the reason for that is he's making $6 million for this season, and the next 2 years he will be a restricted free agent in the summer of 2023. So that brings up the question, what would be the return for Timo Meier? And if he was available, who would be in on trying to acquire him? Now, the first question we have to answer before we get into that is, why would the Sharks want to trade Timo Meier? Well, you look at Timo Meier. He's 24 years old, and he's got a pretty fairly nice contract, which is also part of the problem. He's making $6 million per season, and the San Jose Sharks right now, they don't really have the money to be messing around with that. And when you have Dylan Gambrell, Curtis Gabriel, that have to make new contracts, Rudolph Balcers, they're going to have to pay those guys. And they're not going to get significant pay raises, but it's enough to be an issue. And not this year, but next year, you have to worry about re-signing Mario Ferraro and Nikolai Nejev. So when those guys are up, it's another guy that the Sharks have to worry about re-signing. So that brings up Timo Meier, and Timo Meier I think could generate some interest from around the league. Now it brings up the question, who would be interested in Timo Meier? That's a good question, and we're going to try and answer that now. So I think some of the teams that will be interested in Timo Meier, I'm looking at you, the Detroit Red Wings, and you may be shocked. Why the Detroit Red Wings? Well, the Detroit Red Wings have the cap space. They have $17 million in cap space. They could probably take another contract from the Sharks if they wanted. Maybe a Brent Burns for the next 2 years. Maybe they do that. And you also would have to give up assets if you're the Red Wings. So do they want to give up 2 first-round picks? Probably not. So, okay, so maybe that doesn't work. Let's take a look at another team. What about the New Jersey Devils, who have the most cap space of the entire NHL? $18 million in cap space, and they have some young players that could actually help the San Jose Sharks as soon as next year. You've got guys like Michael McLeod, Yanni Kuokkanen, Yegor Sharangovich, Nathan Bastian, all restricted free agents this year, as well as Mikhail Maltsev in next year's restricted free agency class. So he's another Russian. It seems like the Sharks are bringing in some Russian talent, so maybe you see that work. So maybe you find a way to get a deal done there, and you take one of those young forwards. Now, I don't see them trading a guy like Ty Smith, but what about Damon Severson? We've heard his name in the past. I think it's a little bit far-fetched that the Devils would trade Damon Severson. But again, it's been thrown out there. If you could bring in a guy like Timo Meier, do you do a one-for-one? Timo Meier for Damon Severson. And that way the Sharks can worry about fixing up their blue line with a cheaper defenseman in a guy like Damon Severson. So if you trade a guy like Brent Burns, that loss isn't necessarily there as much because you have Damon Severson. Maybe you do something like that. They've got guys like Nick Merkley. Maybe you reunite the Merkleys. You've got Ryan Merkley. Maybe you bring in his brother Nick Merkley. You have Josh Jacobs, Jesper Bogfist. These are all guys that I think would be interesting to the Sharks. Dawson Mercer, Nolan Foote. On the defensive side of things, Riley Walsh, Nikita Akotiuk, Kevin Ball, David Quenneville. These are all names that are pretty A, B level prospects that the Devils have, and they could trade that for Timo Meier. Now, the Devils, you may be saying, why do they want to trade for Timo Meier? He's a power forward guy. You're going to probably lose both of Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac and Nikita Gusev, potentially all three this summer. So you bring in a guy that has a little bit of NHL experience, so you're not relying on your young guys so much. He can score goals. Let's look at Timo Meier. Timo Meier scores goals, and he's a power forward guy. He's 6 feet, 210 pounds, a big boy for 6 feet. He's already got 17 points in 23 games with the Sharks this season. He is a consistent 40 to 50 point goal scorer. He has his career best. What was his career best? 66 points in a given season. I think the Devils would absolutely take that. And there's a guy, like I said, he's got almost 300 games under his belt in the NHL, so he adds that little bit of experience. He's not a super experienced guy, only 24 years old, but he brings a little bit of level of a baseline to his NHL career. So I think the Devils, I think that's a perfect fit. Timo Meier to the Devils. But we're also hearing, maybe what about, say, the Buffalo Sabres? Now, the problem is with the Sabres, cap space is a problem for them as well. But if they move out guys like Taylor Hall this offseason, God, even if we say a Jack Eichel, maybe they would have the cap space to bring in Timo Meier, a power forward guy, kind of the guy they were hoping they would get in Kyle Oposo when they signed him a couple years back. That power forward, he adds the grit, but he adds the scoring as well. Not afraid to get his nose dirty in the corners. I think Timo Meier would be a really good fit in Buffalo. And let's take a look at maybe one other team. Let's think of one other team that would be a good fit. I have a perfect one. We were recently, last week, talking about the Los Angeles Kings and how they would like to look at a forward. Now, they were looking at Anthony Mantha on the East Coast. But what if they were able to swing a rival deal with their counterparts, the San Jose Sharks and the LA Kings, partnering up for a Timo Meier trade? Now, I think this is more unlikely because Timo Meier, we're not going to see the Sharks want to trade with the Los Angeles Kings, but it does raise the question that maybe there is a fit there. The Boston Bruins are another team I think would be in the race for that. Obviously, with the kind of the regression of Jake DeBrusk, they were hoping he was going to be a top 6 forward. So now that opens up a hole for maybe Timo Meier, and they don't have to worry about him playing in their division. He'll be out on the East Coast unless they meet up in the Stanley Cup Finals, which I don't think we're going to see the Sharks there anytime soon. So guys, like I said, let me know in the comment section down below. Leave some mock trades for some of the teams I mentioned, or maybe there's a team that I didn't mention that maybe I should have. Let me know in the comment section down below. Where do you think Timo Meier could potentially get traded to? Again, it's just base rumors from Elliot Friedman, but I think the question being out there definitely raised my eyebrows just a little bit to what we could see at this year's deadline or going into the 2021 offseason. So guys, that is it for this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, want to help us on the road to 1,000 subscribers, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.